So, hello everybody. Today I'm going to do a little soundbite on how to play Das Schwarze Auge DSA 5 on a shoestring. DSA has been around since the early 80s. It's Germany's most successful and probably most prolific with regard to available material role-playing game. Germany's oldest role-playing game, Midgard, never produced as much output, but then of course it still has just like two people writing for it as the main group, so it's a husband and wife team, and they've worked with other people over the years, over the decades, but of course over its long history, DSA has had many more people writing for it. That's why their products are a lot more prolific, but of course that doesn't mean that they're necessarily better, because quality and quantity are not necessarily the same thing. But when you start playing DSA, you can actually get quite overwhelmed. Even with DSA 5, which has been around, I want to say, since 2015, there is now a large quantity of books available, resources, source books, campaigns. Well, there are two campaigns at the moment, Donnerwacht and Bonland. But there are also additional books about magic, about the gods, and about two of the regions, die Streitenden Reiche and Siebenwindküste, and other things besides, and that can get quite overwhelming. Also, you can end up paying quite a lot of money for stuff that you may not actually need. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain to you what you, as an aspiring game master, need to have, in my opinion, to get started. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't get any of the other stuff, but just to give you an idea of what's out there for which you don't really have to pay anything. Of course, there is one thing that you will definitely need, and that isn't for free, and that is the DSA 5 Regelwerk. And if you buy it as a PDF, it's $9.99. You can also get the soft cover, which I think retails at 20 euros, or you can also get the hardcover, which is I think $39.95. But if you really want to do this because you don't have a lot of money, the DSA Regelwerk PDF is available for 10 euros. One thing I will also say is that what I'm going to tell you and what kind of advice I'm going to give you means that, or has as a prerequisite that you have access to the internet, which of course you would have to pay for, so it's not completely free. But also it would help if you had access to a printer, because if you're like me, then you might want to print out stuff. So the first investment you need to make is to get the DSA 5 Regelwerk PDF, which you can get from Ulisses ebooks.de, and I'm going to put the link in the description for this video. But other than that, you can get by with just printing off stuff. Ulisses has created the Scriptorium Aventurien. I hope I got this, or Aventuriensis, I don't even know. And it's basically possible. It provides fans with the ability and the tools to create their own publications and publish them using the Ulisses ebooks.de link. And it's got the same look and feel, so they've got templates, they've got fonts, they've got images that people can use, but they just have to adhere to the rules that they have to give the information and the copyright information in that publication. So you can get all of this again if you follow the link that I'm going to post, and it's Ulisses ebooks pay what you want equals true. Then you will get the whole 9 yards. of course, this will mostly be in German because its fan base is mainly in Germany. I don't really think that they've managed to get or penetrate the English-speaking market. I don't think that they ever will. But, if you don't speak any German, but you would like to play Das Schwarze Auge, that's a very good incentive for you to start learning German. I learned my first English words when I was playing D&D computer games. So when I started English at school, I already knew words like dungeon, chains, and plate mail, which was quite different from, oh, look, there's a girl standing next to the water tap at the caravan site. Let's go and say hello, which was one of the first things that I learned to say in English. So what would you need? Well, I would recommend that you get yourself the Optolit Heldenverwaltung. Now, this is a piece of software. It's a Java-based piece of software, which at this stage, I think is up to date, up to possibly Götterwerke, although it doesn't contain some of the clerics. Some of the clerical professions are not maintained, but it allows you to create a valid hero without having to consult the rules constantly, because you make a decision. It's basically like a decision tree. You are asked what kind of a race you're going to play, where you're going to be from. And so if you're, for example, from Torval, it precludes you from taking certain professions. So it has all of this built in, and it allows you to create and to maintain a hero over the course of that hero's life. The only thing it can't do is calculate correctly the encumbrance that you get from wearing armor. I wrote to the guy because they have a ticket system where you can say, well, what would you like us to change? And I basically said that this is kind of weird, and he gave me a rubbish explanation as to why this wasn't working. I know a lot about programming, so that was just laziness, or he thought, maybe he could fob me off with some geek speak, but I was like, yeah, well, mate, that would be very easy to implement. But other than that, it is actually really, really good. The only thing is, if you wear armor, you have to remember to set the armor correctly. Now, what you can find here is basically anything and everything. You have here, and this is just a brief overview of things that are there. These are maps that have been, and there are I think 4 boxes of maps that you could use as a GM to basically show they're generic maps of ruins, of little villages, of cities. They're not tied to das Schwarze Auge, but you could use them just to give them some flair, so you come to a village. This is what the village looks like. You have pieces of information about certain areas. So, for example, Havana is a very, very important city, very complex as well. Lots of people fondly remember it from DSA 1. So you have information on this one. Here you've got the Codex Cantionum. Everything that you need to know about magic. You also have, if you would like to, if you don't want to use software to create your hero, you have self-calculating hero documents. So basically, you just put in all of your values, and it will compute certain types of information by itself. I don't actually like them. I find them terrible, but some people really love them. Here you've got elixirs, a collection of elixirs, poisons, illnesses, and herbs. So very good if you're into herbs, and if you would like to go down the druid or Wicca road, you can download this. And again, it doesn't cost you anything. And I've downloaded several of those. They are huge. I mean, I think the herbarium is about 80 pages. And it contains everything you would ever want to know. There are also, interestingly enough, things dating back to DSA 1. So Abenteuer Basisspiel, that is the actual rule book that came with DSA 1. And I just downloaded it just for the fun of it, because I actually like it. I think it's quite nice to look at because I'm kind of like a bit of a theorist as well when it comes to role-playing games. I kind of enjoy reading older rule sets and see the evolution. And in this case, there was a revolution. So here, if you are a conjurer, or if you have conjuring magic, this tells you how to conjure a djinn and what that entails. So there is a lot of stuff for the heroes if you want to go down a certain road. As a hero, you can find additional material, but it also gives you quite a lot of information for the GM. It gives you quite a lot of tools for the GM to use. There are tables that you can roll on for hero backgrounds. There are tables that you can roll on for chance encounters in different areas. And there's also one that I thought was really interesting, and I just downloaded it and printed it off today. It's Index Monetaria Aventuris. It basically gives you every single thing that has been released so far that you can buy in the 5th edition, how much it costs, how much it weighs, because that's very important, because weight, of course, encumbers you. And it is really interesting, because if I want to know, if somebody says, oh yeah, I want to have my horse shod, okay, how much does that cost? How much is it to go to a smith and have your, or a farrier rather, and have your horse shod? You can look it up, it actually tells you. So here you get, once you have got all of the basics, so you have your rule book and you have created your heroes, you can get additional stuff. But of course, you don't need any of this, because once you've got the rule book, you can play it out of the box. Not all of the clerical not all of the clerics are in the basic rulebook, which I find a bit weird, because they've got a pantheon of 12 gods and they basically just, I think, described 6, and I was like, what the hell? But you know, you have 6 important ones, so you could in theory even start with that. And then of course the next step is to get an adventure. And there are plenty of fan-made adventures on here. So for example, Ein Geist in Araned, Der Andergaster, das Abenteuer zum Comic, whatever that is. But there are also a couple of, or here, this is a group adventure, The Band of Ogres. So lots and lots of things, but there are also a couple of official adventures. There used to be more, but the links have now all expired or something. But there are 2 that are still available that are official DSA 5 adventures. The first one I would like to draw your attention to is Der Fluch der Drachengrafen. This was the beta test. I'm actually being run through this by in my group, so I'm not going to read it because I don't want to spoil it for myself, but I can really recommend it. It's actually quite nice. It's good fun. And then of course we also have the Heldenwerk 001 Hexenreigen, which is also free, which you can download from Ulisses Spiele as well. And I'm going to put these 2 in there separately, these 2 links, so that you don't have to dig it out yourselves. Then of course there are also fan-made things. These are very old. It's DSA Schatztruhe. They're all in German, and I think they're from the late 90s. Now you may go, okay, so that's ridiculous because the rules have changed so many times. How can I possibly play this? Well, not to worry, because I've got a solution for you as well. So here you've got plenty of adventures. I can't tell you if they're really good or really bad, but I think that they have a lot of stuff in them. Oliver Eichenberg, I don't know him, but he even wrote a whole campaign, the campaign of the Pantheon Stones, and you know, short adventures, group adventures, even solo adventures. But you see, you might say, okay, so how can I play them with DSA 5 rules? Well, here, Roll20 is your friend, because in Roll20 you have DSA 5 integrated character sheets. So if you want to play a game with your group and you have the old DSA, you have the old DSA rules, or a set of monsters from the past, as it were, you can just do what I do. You go to DSA Regelwiki, and that is also something that is provided for free by Ulisses, and they don't expect you to have a download code or an access code. You don't need anything. And this one is also available in English. So I'm planning a campaign which is based on DSA 4 rules. I've got the books, they're all for DSA 4. So how can I actually use these monsters and these antagonists, because not all of them are monsters, not all of, there won't necessarily be a lot of fighting either, but you might encounter somebody that you need to engage with on a social level. So there might be social interaction, social conflict. So how can I go about this? Well, very simply, I can go, for example, to the bestiary, and I can choose whichever. Let's say I'm meeting a Kulturschaffende. So let's say I meet a female, free citizen of a city. Here are her or his. In this case, it's a woman, but there's no difference in the values between the two genders. I can just take these values and put them into Roll20 and have her as a character sheet. And I can use all of this information to roll automatically. So if I've got somebody who, for example, this is a citizen, so I could say, okay, let's say I'm going to turn her into an apothecary. So of course, then I would give her a couple of other things like alchemy and stuff, if it really matters, if I really need to roll on those stats for her. Chances are, if she's an NPC, I won't have her do alchemy, because the story will actually tell me if she's successful and what kind of stuff she's brewed. But you could always say here, this is actually very important. They assume that they have a job, and they say that whatever their job is, they have it at level 10. So if she's an alchemist, she would have alchemy at level 10. Which is serious. I mean, that's serious stuff. So you could just use those, and put them into Roll20, and Shazam, you've got your NPC sitting there, ready to go. She could even engage in battle, because you've got her weaponless stats. If she had a dagger, or if she had something like a knife on her, or if she had something like a stick that she's waving at you if you're trying to attack her. So you could use all of this, and this is again available for free. There is also, and I've mentioned this, Roll20, which I can really recommend. And again, the basic version is free, and you have access to the DSA 5 character sheet there, and you can use those, and you can generate as many characters as you like, and have them ready at your fingertips when you're playing with your group. You can do this, of course, when you play online, but you could also do this if you bring your PC to the or your laptop to the gaming session. Then, of course, another thing which I find really helpful, because I'm not the most, shall I say, imaginative person, especially when it comes to creating names, because Aventuria is, of course, a whole world, and they've got different languages and different races. So if you are in a certain area, you definitely want your people, your players, to feel that the people that they meet belong, So, I mean, if I go to Germany, I don't want to meet somebody who's called Dexter Drake. I want to meet somebody who's called Dexter Drachenblut, for example. Or if I go north, in Germany, I would like to meet somebody called Ragnar Thorschild, and not somebody who's called Franz Müllerbrot, because that's a very southern name, So you want to have the right names, and of course for this we also have something which is fairly old, because this is still DSA 4, but it doesn't really matter. Again, it's of course German. But, as I said, if you want to play DSA, you had better learn German, because, you won't get far with English. So here we've got different NPCs that you can generate. We can say we want Utulus, which is a southern race, and we just say generate non-player characters. And so here you've got somebody called Hayatepe, from the culture of Miniwatu, Heimo, Hiahaya, Katkakawe, Kepka, of course, they are basically a race that comes. They're a jungle dwelling race. Wapia, Heske, Hawe. So names that come from that region. And if you say you have a different race, like let's say Bornland, which is more northern, then you have people like Tirulf Alvinen, you have Goljev Shorkin. So these are people who are a lot of them are Russian. So you've got your Yakon Pershov, your Yontarevs. But you also have your Thorwalian that might live there, and her name is Jadra Hjalfridadottir. Of course it is, because that's a Icelandic type of person who lives there. So you can do this, and it actually makes it possible for yourself to get easy access to names. And what I do is I just basically say, okay, I'm playing in the Kosh at the moment, so I just generated 16, and I just basically said names, and I just said I'm in the Kosh, and I just want to get a list, and here we are. These are people that you could encounter in the Kosh. Sefa Pflögler, Barine Moorbusch, Rank Birnkloos, Melcher Wackeranger. These are people you could meet there. These are the names that you can find. And there is also rules in DSA how to create those names. And you can buy a book called Names of Aventuria. But of course, then we would be in the realm of actually having to spend money. And why do we have to spend money if we have somebody who did it all for us? So I hope that you found this a little bit interesting. What I will do is I will upload this video. It's really just a soundbite to give you some idea of what you could do if you want to get into Das Schwarze Auge, but you don't really have a lot of money. Or also, if you're saying, well, I don't know if this is really something for my group. I want to not dive in too deep. I also don't want to get overwhelmed, and I don't want to invest that much money. So I would say pay the 10 euros for the PDF, for the rule set. And then you have a couple of adventures that you can play, and then you can get an idea of the look and feel of the world. Even just looking at all of the stuff that is out there gives you a really good idea of how layered the world is. I mean, the world itself, this is a fully inhabitable world. There is a book from years and years ago, which deals with merchants and possibly, I would say, agriculture. I'm not quite sure if agriculture is actually that big a deal in there, but it's infamous for the fact that it contains 8 pages on cabbage. I mean, we all know that cabbage is quite important in Germany. We're even called the Krauts, and of course, Kraut is cabbage. But 8 pages, that's kind of, serious. And a lot of people actually hate this book and say it's not worth its money, but it kind of gives you an idea of how deep you can go. Because I would also like to draw your attention to a thing that is something that is pretty much unique, I think, to the Dark Eye. There are groups that play the Dark Eye as a simulation. So they will debate how a crossbow will actually work. They will debate for hours. They will need rules for the thickness of plate mail and the strength of the different types of crossbows. And there are different types of crossbows in DSA. The distance, and also, for example, if you're shooting down from a higher ground, does this in any way mean that the bolt is more deadly? They will do this. They will have day jobs. They might even be cabbage farmers. Who knows? They are interested in animal husbandry. They will have farms in game. And for them, this is absolutely important. They will have kind of like, gone on over the decades. Their characters would have married. They might have had children. All of this would have happened in game in that world. And of course, that is a very, very small minority of players. But for them, Aventuria needs to be completely and detailed and completely described for them to be able to do this. And they, of course, then sometimes take all of their knowledge and just put it out there and say, well, we've gone through all of this, so here you are. Let's just let people know how to care for pigs in Andergast. So that's all from me. DSA 5 on a shoestring. Minimum that you can or that you have to invest is €10 in order to do what I've just shown you. But of course, when it comes to DSA, and especially if you dive into the older stuff, which is still sometimes available as a book, as a new book, you can still buy some of the old stuff from Ulisses. And of course, I'm pretty sure that you can get it through eBay. But also, a lot of this stuff is still available or is now available as PDFs. And I can tell you, when it comes to spending money on DSA, you can always take the old source books. And why can you do this? Because DSA has something that's called living history. Some people call it the meta plot. So the way Aventuria has developed is not changeable. So with a DSA 5, they didn't change the history of it, or they didn't change things that had happened, because the world continuously changes and continuously evolves, and things happen in the world. So if you have a source book from DSA 2 or 3 or 4, it is still valid. The values in there, for example, with regard to how magic works, what kind of, how many astral points you have to invest, or how much you get out of a spell. And that's one contentious issue with DSA 5, because magic and also a lot of the miracles and liturgies have been reduced in value to a great deal, so that some people say it's actually not worth playing a magician or magic user, because you get so little and you have to pay so much for it. So these may change, but if you go to the Drachenei Academy in Al-Anfa and you read something from DSA 4, the description of what this academy is like is still valid in DSA 5. The people who were there in DSA 4 are still there today, unless, of course, they have died in the so-called real world, in which case you can look this up on the Wiki Aventurica, which is also a fan project where lots of stuff is available. And I would like to show you one more thing. This is also free, and I think it is well worth looking at. It's the Avespfade.de, and that is the map of Aventuria, and it works like Google Maps. So you can say, I want to go from Garit. So you can choose Garit. And I want to go to Grangor, for example. That's another city. Grangor. And it tells you how to get there. It also tells you how long it'll take you. So here it tells you that this is going to take 3.49 hours. And you get the final information as well, and you can follow it. It tells you where you can stop, etc. So and here you get the information. It's 760 miles, so that's 760 kilometers, and it would take you 183 hours. It takes into account what kind of roads you take, because obviously there are different types of road in Aventuria, and travel times vary between the different types of road that you have. So I hope you found this interesting, and I wish you a pleasant time in Aventuria. And that's all from me. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.